financial year for many people.
Yeah, it's time for everyone to start thinking about what they're going to do for their accountant. They'll be getting in the mail, if not already, the usual end-of-year questionnaire with all the questions that we've got to ask and the necessary declaration that allows us to do the tax return. So if they get those, first thing is to make sure you actually sign them and read them.
Okay, because it's interesting. I mean, you do my accounts, and I sort of think, well, you're going to do it anyway. But I still have to sign and say that I let you do it for me.
Yes, it's part of the IRD requirements to say that you actually authorise us to do that tax return. We just can't go ahead and do it without it. So you'll find a lot of accountants, they'll require you to sign that, and even some will actually require you to sign the physical tax return as well at the end of a job. So in some cases you sign twice.
What do you need from a client?
Well, the first thing is they've got to think about their livestock. It's a big one. They've got to make sure they count and age it. The aging is very important because if you get that wrong, you could actually overpay your tax. Because of the way the valuation methods work, different classes have different rates. So it's important to actually think about what you've got on the farm and get those right. If you don't get them right, your accountant may say, hang on, look, we're missing a few hundred here, there, and actually expect you to go back and have another look. So if you think the account now, it'll save you a lot of hassle in the long run and potentially tax.
We've gone past the shoebox full of receipts.
Oh, most definitely. That's well in the past. If people are still doing that, they need to go and talk to their accountant immediately because that's old school, inefficient, almost hopeless. It's probably
And expensive.
Very expensive. You've got every accountant offers different services. Somewhere you can do it monthly. You've got right through to the full-on accounting packages for those farms that really want to get ahead. So now would be a time, right, end of financial year, get the information ready, get in the account and say, hey, look, I want to change systems. What are the options? And start doing those.
Kerry, there's people like MYOB who advertise that they've got a system. Do you, as a chartered accountant, work in with those sorts of systems, or do you do independently?
Yeah, probably MYOB, Xero, Cash Manager Rural are the big ones that we sort of relate to. There's some others out there, but we don't sort of dictate which one somebody should go on.
But you do work within people who do those?
Definitely. So we'll sit down with someone and say, what are you actually looking for? Work out their needs and then give them one or two options and let them sort of choose.
So just in my mind, I'm trying to work it out.
Yep.
So something like MYOB, for example,
yes.
I work with them during the year to make it easier for you.
Yep, and then at the end of the year, we can extract the data out of your system.
Okay.
Because a lot of them are cloud-based now, you don't even actually have to come into our office. You can actually sit at home on the farm, we can extract your data, start the job, and any questions, we just give you a phone call and say, hey, look, we've got a question, what's this about? And yeah, you don't save that long trip into the accountant anymore.
Which is why you've got clients all around the country.
Yeah, exactly. Our one up in Northland, they run Xero, for example, and we're all the time doing stuff with them on a monthly basis and having budget meetings over the phone and Skype, business calls, things like that. So it makes life a lot easier for us.
Must be tough on Valentine's because people used to come in to see the chartered accountant and the wife would go to Valentine's, except now that the wife is the one who goes to the accountant.
Yeah, and normally, they might drop off the stuff as an excuse to get into town.
Well, that's seriously, there's a lot of women now who do run the financial
side.
They
do, yeah, and that's what we find, that probably 80% of them are the female part of the farm. They do all the bookwork. Because they understand it more, basically.
Yeah, and the guys don't want to know.
Yeah, they don't. So yeah, and they get it very well organised. We've got some where the guys do it, and it's not quite up to scratch.
Enough said. End of year also means end of year tax.
Yeah, so on the 7th of April, there could be some farmers that have got tax due for the 2016 year, which is the terminal tax.
I love the way it's called terminal.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. And it could be quite significant for some people, but also those with a March balance date have got provisional tax potentially due on the 7th of May. So they could have two lots of tax within a 1 month period. So the questions are, which one should we pay, what's the implications of not paying them, etc. So we're saying, look, the 7th of April is your key one because that's for the year that's already gone. We've done the tax return, it's got to be paid, you've got penalties and interest to pay. If you don't pay it, so make that a priority if you can't pay the 7th of May. If you can't, there are channels that you can go through. Yeah, if you can't pay the 7th of April, talk to your accountant, they can talk to IRD and negotiate an arrangement with you. IRD are very, very open to it. In fact, they've sent out letters to every taxpayer with tax due saying, look, you've got tax due, if you can't pay it, have a chat to us and we'll help you out. So they're very, very accommodating.
I think they're leaning over backwards. I mean, the old days of them being the police with a big stick.
Oh yeah,
gone.
that's long gone. They're fantastic to deal with, and it's on any sort of tax. You know, people struggling with GST as well. You can just talk to them, and they'll come to an arrangement.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Tell me about Smart Start.
It's an online government service which brings together services for people that are having a baby. So it's quite handy for people out in the country because it gives you a timeline of what to do. So it's got things like Ministry of Social Development and the IRD, Plunkett, New Zealand Midwives, etc. So you can go on, get a timeline personalised to you of what steps you have to do before and after the baby's birth. An example is like you can get you reach the birth online without having to actually buy a birth certificate. So it's a new way of the future, but everything's going online.
Yeah, it's interesting that IRD was sort of a bit involved with that as well.
Yeah, I think the step is to try and make sure you can get IRD numbers quicker and easier. So if you don't reach the birth, it flows through to them, and you should be able to get that IRD number without having to jump through all the hoops.
For the baby?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yeah, they need it because some people open a bank account from day one and start putting money aside for their child in that child's name, and if they don't have an IRD number, they pay the 45% tax rate.
Kerry, I'm just standing here absolutely speechless.
It's almost the norm. I'd say a lot of the ones that we see now are in the child's name.
I think that's fabulous. I mean, when they turn 21, they can buy a house.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a compound interest.
Yeah, yeah, but you've got to have that IRD number from the moment you open that bank account, and the banks will ask.
So the IRD are expecting a person who is not even 1 year old yet to be paying tax?
Yes, yep.
On a savings account?
Yes,
though.
if you had interested in a bank, they deduct withholding tax and pay it to IRD on your behalf.
So you've got to do a tax return?
You don't have to if you have it at the right rate. So if you're at 45%, yes, you do.
Kerry, yeah, that's blown me away, but thank you very much indeed.